Gen Z has been going off on social media saying college isn't worth the investment anymore, and employers are even starting to agree.
Well, a new study shows employers don't value college degrees like they used to. Instead, they're turning to workers who bring skill and experience over education. So 91% of employers overwhelmingly responded no when asked if colleges and universities are graduating students today with relevant skills.
So if employers don't think that graduates have the relevant skills, I want to examine in today's video whether or not college has ever been worth it, when it was the most worth it, and I'll give you my honest review on if I still think that having a college degree is valuable today. All of these questions are going to be answered in today's video, and in preparation for this video, I did a lot of research and looked up a lot of data, and the first question I naturally had was, well, how much was a college diploma worth back in the day? So I looked up how much college cost back in 1980. I felt like that was an appropriate date, and back then the cost of college annually was about $2,700. That includes tuition, fees, and room and board, and so the total cost of college back in 1980 was $10,800 for the full 4 years in 1980 dollars. Now, the average salary of somebody back then with a bachelor's degree was $15,200 according to the National Center for Education Statistics. So if we're making a simple comparison, back then in 1980, the 4-year cost of college tuition was $10,800 and your average starting salary is $15,200, you can take your starting salary divided by the cost of college to get a ratio. So if we took the numbers from back then, our ratio is 1.4, and this isn't the best way to gauge what the ROI of college is, but it's a simple kind of quick back of the napkin math check that we can do. Now in 2024, that ratio is actually way worse. So if we use 2024 numbers, the cost of education for 1 year of tuition these days is $28,840 per year. That brings your total cost of college education, which includes tuition, room and board, and fees, to $115,360 according to the College Board. Now, can you guess what the average salary is for somebody with a bachelor's degree in 2024? Well, let me tell you, it's $77,636 per year, and that's if you're even lucky enough to get a job. So that same ratio that we were talking about earlier, the starting salary divided by the cost of education in 2024, was 0.67. That means it's a little bit more than 2 times worse than what it was back in 1980. So based on just this, it's clear to me that the value of a college degree in 2024 is not quite the same as it once was in the 80s. However, there are a few other major reasons why college might not be as valuable as it once was. Number 1, college degrees are more prevalent than ever, so listen to this stat. The number of 4-year college graduates from 2000 to 2022 in the United States increased by 40 million, or 90%. So back in the 1980s, every single graduating class for the entire year in the United States was 940,000 students, but these days that number is well over 2 million students. So effectively, we have more than double the amount of students graduating these days than compared to the 1980s. That just means there's going to be that much more competition in the job market for the same types of jobs. The second reason why I don't think a college degree is as valuable these days as it once was is the fact that if you have a college degree, you're not special anymore these days. Almost everybody has a college degree. And unless you're specializing in something, let's say economics, math, or one of the hard sciences, if you have just a normal degree, so a basic communications degree or history degree, you're not going to be really well sought out in the marketplace. And finally, because tuition prices have gotten so high in the last 30 years, in order to get that same ROI for college as you once might have gotten back in the 1980s, you probably have to earn much more over your lifetime to make it a justifiable expense. Now, even with all of this information though, I found that the data doesn't lie. In fact, there's a lot of supporting data and supporting evidence to show you that if you have a college degree, you're going to be out earning those with a high school diploma or those without a high school diploma much more into your lifetimes. So you can see here with the median real wages graph by education attainment, generally speaking, more education will correlate to more wages. Now, this is from 2019, and the Bureau of Labor Statistics also has charts and graphs that support this exact graph right here. The person with a bachelor's degree real median wages are close to $28 an hour in this graph versus those with a high school diploma were $17.14 as of 2019. Now, adjusted for 2024, that means the person with a bachelor's degree these days earns close to $33 per hour, and the one with the high school diploma is still around $20 per hour. Now, in doing research for this video, I actually stumbled upon a very comprehensive research report created by the Foundation for Research on Equal Opportunity, where they they analyzed the return of investment for over 30,000 bachelor degrees, and their findings were very thorough. If you would like to read the full article and check out the study, I highly recommend that you do. I will link that down below, but their main finding was the following. Quote, the median bachelor's degree is worth $306,000 for students who graduate on time, but the median conceals enormous variation. Some fields of study, including engineering, computer science, nursing, and economics, can produce returns of $1 million or more. The finding was that choosing a major has a huge implication on whether or not college is ROI positive for those people. I mean, there's no surprise there. If you specialize in something, you are likely to get paid for it. So here's a fun chart of college graduates' wages across different types of majors that I was able to find in doing research for this video. And you can see that generally the more specialized the major, such as computer and mathematics or engineering and business, the more that you're going to make. Now, the same can actually be said for life too. The more specific your experience is, the more irreplaceable you become, the more money that you will make in your lifetimes. It's a huge reason why so many professional athletes make exorbitant amounts of money. So for example, Steph Curry, my favorite NBA player, signed a $215 million contract back in 2017. And you can argue pretty convincingly that his skills are pretty hard to replace. Now, he literally can't be replaced, and that's not just my opinion, that's the opinion of many NBA analysts and NBA coaches. And who else is gonna be making three-pointers from half court at a regular clip? Therefore, Steph Curry is a huge asset to any NBA team, and it's a reason why he was signed to the Supermax contract that he now has. Now, he drives a lot of value to the Golden State Warriors by being on the Golden State Warriors, and it's a huge reason why I think they've been valued at $7.7 billion. Now, contrast that to somebody selling concessions in the stadium. I would argue that you could probably be trained to sell concessions in the stadium after a week. And so knowing that the training period to be a concession seller is just a week and your skills are pretty replaceable, you're just not going to be paid as much as Steph Curry is. I know that's a pretty extreme example, but I want to illustrate the point that the more irreplaceable that you become in whatever field that you choose, the more money that you're going to make and the more of a moat that you create against your competition. So actually, let's go back to the article. It actually has a really fascinating table for every major and the ROI of every major, and you can look up every single degree in the search field. For example, I looked up financial degrees and then I sorted it by the ROI, and you can see that if you get a degree from the University of Pennsylvania, your ROI after the completion adjustment is $4.35 million. Completion adjustment, as defined by this study, is, quote, the amount that a student can expect to see their earnings increase thanks to the college degree, subtracting the direct and indirect costs of college and accounting for the risk that these students will drop out before finishing the degree. That means that the study found that the value of a Penn degree in finance specifically was worth way more than the median ROI of $306,000 for all bachelor's degrees. In some cases, your ROI can be negative based on the major and school that you choose. So I did that same search for financial degrees and then sorted it by the least amount of ROI. And you can see that the worst performing school here was Texas A&M University, where the ROI of the degree was negative. Now, I think the reason why it's negative is not because Texas A&M is a bad school or anything like that. In fact, I really like Texas in general. It's just the fact that they're accounting for the percentage of dropouts in their calculations, as well as the fact that it could just be a smaller sample size when it comes to that college specifically. You can read more about the full methodology of the report, which I will link down below, and trust me, it is very, very thorough, and I think they did a really good job. The last finding that I want to point out from this particular research report is that they find that many bachelor's degree programs don't make sense financially. So, quote, after accounting for mediocre completion rates and high underlying spending, many bachelor's degrees programs don't look as good. 37% of programs do not deliver a financial return when adjusting for spending and completion. Another 32% have a lifetime ROI below 250 grand. In other words, college makes sense for a lot of those that are pursuing the hard sciences majors such as economics, math, computer science, etc., but it doesn't make as much sense for those with the more basic majors like art and history. And this can cause a mismatch in the job market as well, because many job employers, let's say they're all looking for engineers, but maybe not so many artists, then what's going to happen is all the engineering majors are going to get snapped up and start to make a lot more money, but then the rest of the market is being flooded by the artists and the history majors. And this is a reason why we might be seeing some of the discourse on social media. It's a lot of these more non-specialized majors not being able to get a job or having a tougher time in the job market, and therefore it's kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy. I feel like the value of a college degree Just a basic one isn't as valuable as it once was, and so therefore all the specialized majors are doing just fine, but the more art and history majors, I keep using those examples, they're not doing as good. Hopefully we've concluded so far that at least in terms of economic ROI, college is still worth it, especially if you choose the right major, you stick with it for all 4 years, you get a job in that major after you graduate, and you don't drown in student debt. And by not drowning in student debt, I mean that you're just being reasonable with your student debt and actually making your payments on time. With that being said though, there are still some intangible benefits of college that we should talk about, because so far in this video, we've only analyzed the economic and math side of the college equation, but there are a lot of intangibles we should talk about. The first benefit is that you have 4 more years to grow up and develop compared to those that just go straight into the workforce. And these are formative years where you could learn cognitive skills as well as self-discipline skills. I think back to my college years, and I think I learned a lot of adult skills in that 4-year time span. I had to hold myself accountable to go to class. I had to get my work done on time. I had to, work out and also be social. And I think that if I didn't have those 4 years, I might not have learned those skills as easily. Benefit number 2 is that if you don't know what you want to do, then college really affords you this time to figure it out. It's a time of experimentation. You can take a bunch of general education courses. You can get well-rounded on many different topics, and perhaps you choose a different avenue than the one that you thought that you were going to do when you first got to college. The third benefit is the networks effects of college, and I think this is often overlooked, but have you ever met somebody that went to the same college as you? It's a powerful way to open doors not only in your career, but also in your life. For example, you could meet someone from an alumni network, and perhaps 5 years later, 10 years later down the road, you get an amazing business opportunity from that same connection. I also know of other people that have met alumni from their same college, and then they end up getting married, so that's also another benefit. Personally, I think college is still worth it as long as you are not putting yourself in a huge amount of student debt in order to get that college degree, and that you actually are going to use your college degree after college. And I also think that the scale tips more in favor of college, especially if the major that you're choosing is one that is more of a hard science, or that you're going to use it in a field after college as well. There's always going to be an opportunity cost of going to college, but Michael Greenstone of the Hamilton Project actually found that if you assume college costs about $102,000 for 4 years, that the rate of return is a whopping 15.2% a year on the $102,000 investment. That's assuming you make the average salary for somebody with a bachelor's degree. And that 15.2% return compared to the average S&P 500 return of around 8 to 10% per year, you can see that going to college might be a worthwhile investment. If you are questioning the value of a college degree and also student loans, I would suggest maybe trying to go to a junior college for 2 years first, and then transferring to a public 4-year institution, hopefully within state. This will still allow you to get a college degree without putting yourself in a huge amount of student debt. Still though, the value of college is always going to be up for debate. If you have any comments or opinions, please let me know in the comments what you think of all of this. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe, and also check out my next video right here. It's going to be another relevant video on Gen Z, and I will see you guys either in that video or a future one on this channel. I appreciate you guys being here. See ya. Peace.